I'm working on a new project. I'm using the 3 patterns for the quilt. I have this fancy pattern. Here's my patterns over here: fancy, box maze 2, the P2P diamond, and then I use the geometric square. I'll show you what I use the geometric square for. But this fancy pattern goes in a outer border. This diamond goes in a small inner border. Then this is going into the interior of the quilt. Okay, I did a setup so I could see what it was going to look like. The quilt is on the rollers a long way, this here, and then this is the shortest part. This quilt is 84 wide like this and 73 down. So now I'll go and show you how I put in all these borders using the geometric square. And see, I've already quilted part of the border, and I've quilted one row inside the interior. I use this group, and I go to my geometric square. First thing I'm going to do is set it to the size of the outer edge of the quilt, which is 84 wide and 73 for the length. So I'll put in the numbers, and I have the aspect is turned off. Scroll this so we can see freeze aspect is turned off. Put in 84 here. Then I'll put this, enter 73. Go to repeat patterns and click OK. See, I have the machine foot in the upper left corner of the quilt. So now it will place this geometric square in relation to where the foot is located. Okay, there's the outer edge of the quilt. I'll move the machine to the inner edge of that border. Now I have to change my geometric square size. Close out the point to point, or the repeat patterns setup box. Go back to my geometric square. I'm going to redo the numbers. So the subtracting the size of that border all around, the border is about 6.5 inches, so that gives me 12 inches. So I subtract the 12 from 84. Now I have 71, and then subtract 12 from the 73. That gives me, or subtract 13 from the 84 gives me 71. Subtract 13 from the 73, that gives me 60. Go to repeat patterns, click OK, put that in. Now go to the upper left of the inner border and do this again. I'll have to resize the geometric square. I'll exit out of the repeat pattern setup again. Let's change the size of it, change the width. So now I only need to subtract 1 inch from this, which makes this 70, and 59 here. And I explain why I subtracted the inch here very shortly. So I have 70 by 59. The foot is in the upper left corner of the inner border. We go to repeat patterns, click OK. It places that. Then I'll go to the inner boundary of the inside border, and it's about 1.5 inches. So again, I have to subtract 3 inches from the numbers I have in there. So subtract 3 from 70, 67. Then subtract 3 from 59, and we have 56 here. Click the repeat patterns, click OK. Right click, combine the patterns, right click, convert pattern to boundary. Now I have boundary, so I can put my patterns in. Then I'll just go back to, I went back to this setup. I started putting these patterns in, and I know that this one is 84 inches, so I can go and get my pattern right here, and I like to move my machine so that it really is off the quilt. But for this first one, I'll move it in the upper left hand corner of the quilt, and then select this, and I have it set at 6 inches, and I know that the width is 84, so I repeat patterns and go in here, make the total width in repeat patterns, make the total width 84. It's in the upper left hand corner, and I'll just click OK. It'll put that in there. So there's that set of patterns. Now, a lot of time for my setup, to see what I'm doing, select all of these. I'm going to rubber stamp them. I'm going to escape. I'll move this and rotate it 90 and rotate it 90. Now I'm doing this for a reason, and the reason is to make sure that my pattern is oriented correctly. Okay, there I have that. I'll just place it in there. Now, here's what I'm trying to show you. See how this pattern is? See, this is at the bottom edge of the this border that goes around. So when I place these, I want this to be on this seam, next to this seam line, all the way around. So let's look at the bottom. When I rubber stamped it and I rotated it, you see it's the same way. This is next to the seam line of that border. So I want it to be the same way all along here and here. So now I'll go and put the patterns in this place. So to do this, I'll just move the machine off of the quilt, and since this is going to be stitched down from belly bar, or from take a roller to belly bar, this is 270 degrees, and I know that this space is the 73 minus 13, or it's 60. I'll take this and I'm going to put it on there in relation to this spot right here. So go to repeat patterns. I have it, have the size is still set. Go to repeat patterns. For this total, I'm going to put in the 60. Now this kind of looks kind of weird doing it this way, putting it in there, but I'll show you why. So what do I need? 60, and I need my angle to be 270. And I also want to change this to the start point. So I'm going to put the patterns on the screen for this right side of the quilt. So have everything set, and there they are. Now I'll just grab these, I'll move them over, and as I put them in, I'm just going to do a rough placement on them. I'm going to scroll into this corner up here. See what I'm talking about? I want this to go like this. This thing is there down the side, so it'll be all the way around now. Across the bottom, it's the same way. Orient your patterns. To get this one oriented, I have to do it a little different. Get out of the edge to edge. And again, I'll go to the repeat patterns mode. The total is still 60. Total width. And the angle this time is going to be 90. See, it's this direct is 0, 90, 180, 270. That's how our grid is set up. So down for the angle, I'll put in 90. And I want to have this going this way, even though I don't quilt it that way. So I want to put in endpoint here. Go over and click OK. We'll see what happens. There it is. It's right on it put it right on the screen. And I'll move it in place and hold down the control key so I won't have the handles in the way. So I'll move this into position. And again, we need to look. See, it comes right around this way, and this is in the correct orientation, like this. Okay, so I have all of these set up now for the outer border, and then I'll go and do the same thing for the inner border. You see, it's not that difficult to do all of these. I would just place those patterns the same way, and when I finish, it will look like this group right here. See? So then you ask, okay, why? Let's go back to this setup. Why is this space here like it is? She has a little decorative strip of material sewn in this seam right there, and then it just kind of lays over on the quilt. It's just a little 1/2 inch. This is about a 1/2 inch wide, and it's just a decorative strip that's all the way around this quilt. See, then whenever I finished, I put all the inner patterns in there. Well, I'll go ahead now and show you placing these patterns. Okay, I have my diamond selected. Have the machine in the upper left hand corner of this border here. So I know that this part is 70. So I can get this. I have the size set already. Go to repeat patterns for the total width. I'll put in 70. and the angle is in fact 0. So I'll put that on there. And what I'm going to do, I think I'm going to try to up here, since I need one for the bottom, I'll just put in 2 rows. See if that works. Okay, now I have my 2 rows in. And you say, well, how are you going to select that? Yeah, it'll work. I'll go like this. I only want this little bottom row. This row. I'm just going to drag it down to the bottom. Turn off the control key. Just drag this down into this. Okay. Now I'm going to put 2 more in there for this side, for this left and right side. Do this again. Now this, instead of being 70, is 60. So I'm going to move this over to the side like this, out of the way. So go and get out of the setup here. Go to repeat patterns. My total is going to be 59. So I'll place 59 in there, and my angle, I'm going to go ahead and just put in 270 because it won't make any difference in this. It's just a setup to see what I have. And I'm going to go back up and change my reference to start point. Also, I want to tell it I'm going to do 2 rows, angle 270. Okay, I'll just put them on the screen. This should work. Okay, I need 2 rows. I can go back and put that in. There's my 2 rows. What I'm going to do is just grab 1 row. I need to be able to see the end here. I'll just grab 1 row like this, and I'm going to move it over here. Place this in. I'll come back, before I quilt these, I'll come back and get everything snapped together. That ends up being a little bit too long. So I'll just move it into place. Okay, go and get the other one. Move it over here into place. And then before I would quilt it, then I would go and just get all of this snapped together. See, this needs to be moved over so that the ends can connect. But that's how I put all of that in there. To put the interior in, I'll just go over. Okay, I've got the machine sitting in the upper left corner of the interior of the quilt. Go get my box maze. It's already sized the way I want it to be. Okay, 15 inches. I know that this interior is 67 by 56, so when I go to repeat patterns, total width is 67. Total height 56. Click OK. And I know that on this I need a little bit of positive vertical spacing. So I'll put that in. That'll work right there. So now it's put it in there, and this gives me a visual of the quilt itself. That's how I set all of that up.